In the rolling hills of Sussex, where the village of Mayfield nestles like a jewel in the verdant weald, the 10th century was a time of faith and fear, when the line between the divine and the diabolical was as thin as a whispered prayer. Here, at the heart of Mayfield Palace, lived St Dunstan, a towering figure of Saxon England whose name would echo through history as a scholar, reformer, and Archbishop of Canterbury. A man of fierce intellect and unyielding piety, Dunstan was said to have wrestled not only with the souls of men, but with the very forces of darkness. Within the convent of the Holy Child Jesus, which later rose on the palace's ancient foundations, a pair of iron tongs is preserved, venerated as Dunstan's own. Yet the tongs, forged no earlier than the 13th century, cannot have been his, though the legend they carry burns as brightly as the forge where Dunstan once faced the devil himself. Dunstan's early life was shadowed by whispers of the arcane. Before his conversion to Christianity under the guidance of St Alphege, a gentle bishop who saw light in the young man's restless soul, Dunstan was rumoured to dabble in forbidden arts. As a youth in Glastonbury, he studied ancient texts, crafted intricate metalwork, and played haunting melodies on the harp, earning both admiration and suspicion. Some villagers swore he could summon visions in the firelight, while others whispered of pacts with unseen forces. These tales, likely born of envy or fear of his brilliance, followed him even as he embraced the church, dedicating his life to spreading the gospel and reforming monasteries. Yet the devil, ever watchful for a soul of such power, was not content to let Dunstan's light shine unchallenged. By the time Dunstan settled in Mayfield, serving as a blacksmith, while preaching the word of God, his reputation as a holy man was matched only by his skill at the anvil. His forge, a humble structure of stone and timber, glowed with the heat of molten iron, its rhythmic clang echoing through the village. Dunstan's hands, calloused yet precise, shaped horseshoes and tools, but his heart was fixed on salvation, his own and that of the flock he shepherded. The villagers revered him, yet they sensed an otherworldly aura about the man, as if he stood at the crossroads of heaven and hell. One crisp autumn evening, as the sun bled crimson over the Sussex hills, a stranger appeared at the forge. She was a vision of beauty, with raven hair cascading over a gown of emerald silk, her eyes glinting with the promise of secrets. She introduced herself as Edgifu, a traveller seeking warmth and company. Dunstan, hammering a glowing rod, barely glanced up, his focus unbroken, even as the woman's honeyed words filled the air. She spoke of distant lands and fleeting pleasures, her voice a siren's call meant to stir a man's desires. The villagers, had they seen her, might have blushed or turned away, but Dunstan's gaze remained on his work, his lips moving in silent prayer. The forge crackled, and the woman grew bolder, gliding closer, her skirts swaying as she spun tales of forbidden delights. Yet something was amiss. As she danced around the room, her gown lifted slightly, revealing not delicate slippers but cloven hooves, blackened and gnarled, scraping the stone floor. The air grew heavy with the scent of brimstone, and Dunstan's prayers grew louder, though his hands never faltered. He knew his visitor, now not Edgifu, but the devil himself, cloaked in beauty to test his resolve. The villagers later swore they felt a chill that night, as if the very earth held its breath. Without a word, Dunstan plunged his tongs into the forge, the iron tips glowing red as the heart of a star. The devil, sensing the shift, faltered mid-sentence, his flirtations turning to a snarl. But Dunstan was swift, with a movement as calm as it was precise. He clamped the searing tongs onto the devil's nose, or what passed for a nose in that fleeting guise. A scream tore through the night, a sound so piercing it rattled windows 3 miles away in Rotherfield. The devil, his disguise shattered, erupted into a whirlwind of flame and shadow, his once lovely form twisting into something monstrous, horned, winged, and reeking of sulphur. He fled the forge, his wails echoing across the weald as he streaked through the sky like a comet. In his agony, the devil spied the springs of Tunbridge Wells, their waters shimmering in the moonlight. Desperate to soothe his burning nose, he plunged into the chalybeate pools, the iron-rich waters hissing as they met his infernal flesh. When he emerged, cursing and diminished, the springs were forever changed. To this day, they run red with a rusty hue and carry a faint tamp's of sulphur, a reminder of the night the devil met his match. Villagers, drawing water from the springs, tell the tale with a mix of pride and unease, claiming the waters hold both healing and a hint of the diabolical. Back in Mayfield, Dunstan returned to his work, the forge glowing as if nothing had happened. The tongs, cooled and blackened, were set aside, later enshrined by the faithful as a relic of his triumph. The story spread, growing into an allegory of Dunstan's spiritual battle, his rejection of temptation and his victory over the darkness that once shadowed his soul. Some scholars argue the tale is pure folklore, a colourful embroidery of Dunstan's real struggles as a reformer in a turbulent age. Others, pointing to the red springs and the ancient tongs, insist there's truth in the legend. Whatever the case, St Dunstan's name endures, a beacon of faith forged in fire, unyielding even in the face of the devil's wiles. Many thanks for treading this tale's dark path. If its chill gripped you, follow, subscribe, and comment below.